Hi and welcome from your ITC Geeks. My name's Trapper Hallam, and in today's video, we're going to talk about a change that Microsoft recently made to Teams meetings, specifically the chats. If you've noticed, or if you've had an issue with your chats where in the meeting, you're chatting and everything's going great, but the meeting ends and all of a sudden your students aren't getting the messages, then this video is for you. Also, have you seen one of these messages on your chat after your meeting? Again, this is for you. Microsoft recently made a change with Teams meetings that changed the way that students participate with meetings and the chats specifically. So when they join by a link, so one that we make in Schoology, they can come into the meeting and everything's fine and the same. The chat works during the meeting and everything's fine and the same. But when they leave now, because they joined by a link and they weren't invited by you in the creation of the meeting, now they're removed from the chat. All right, so how do we fix this? Well, that's what I'm here for. I'm going to show you how to take your existing meetings and add the participants with the little participant button so that they can have the meeting afterwards. And then two, I'll also show you how to make a new meeting, because you're going to have to do that once in a while, and add them in initially so that when you get done with the meeting, they're already able to see that chat afterwards. All right? So all of those steps are coming in the video, so why don't we go take a look? Okay, so we're going to start by going into Teams and taking a look at an existing meeting, actually one that I can show you what the message looks like again, just so you kind of have an idea of what you're looking for. So if I come in here, and you can see in my Teams really quickly, I'm using an old principals meeting it looks like that we had. And you can see here that there's a few names at the bottom that they says right here clearly, them and three others no longer have access to the chat. That's what you're going to see as a reflection of the new change within Microsoft. So these people joined by a link. They were active in the chat. You can see that there was some chatting going on and they received those messages. But because they joined by a link that we shared out, when they left that information. Again, that's a layer of security, and that also comes into play if you've got students that were in your chat accidentally for one reason or another and you've removed them. They no longer have access to that chat to cause any issues. So this is a positive. All right. Now let's go and see how we can add people to this chat. So I've made a team meeting just as practice, and I've got it pinned somewhere up here at the top. We should see it right here. Chat not working. Right there. And so we'll go into this and you can see I've put a little message of chat. And I'm the only person in there, but let's pretend that this is my class meeting. Maybe I should have used class meeting, but this will work. So I'm going to come up here into the upper right hand corner, and this is how easy it is to fix this issue. It will be required for you to do this for every meeting though. So there's a little bit of an extra step now with your meetings, but let's go ahead and take a look how easy this can be. I'm going to click on this little participant icon, and you'll notice that it pops up, and then there's always an option that says add people. So I'm going to go ahead and click add people, and it's going to prompt me with this dialog box here. And this box gives me some choices, but you'll notice the first one, which is the most important, it says enter an email or a name. So in this spot, I can add anybody I'd like to this meeting. So I'm going to add Corey. You should pop up. We'll add Courtney. So I'm going to add Courtney to this meeting. I can click on her name, and we'll add Corey, and you can see that I can add that, and I can add Jerry as well, and I can click on them. So you're going to individually search for your students and type them in. It's a little cumbersome, but within the Teams platform, that is really the only way that we have to add them. There is no bulk add as we speak that's functional for our district. So hopefully that's coming soon. It is a user request, but as for now, to add in multiple people isn't really an option for us. But I have a little surprise for you. If we create a meeting in Outlook, which we'll do in a later segment, we can use bulk add there. So there is a possibility, and I'll show you what it looks like. So we could add these people by clicking add, and they would add them in. But notice underneath that, we have a couple options. So we can say don't include the chat history. So everything that was talked about in this meeting prior to me adding them right now, they would not see. I can include a certain number of days from this chat so they can see a portion of the chat that existed. So maybe there's something from 2 weeks ago I don't want them to see, but the last week I want them to get caught up on. I could add them this way. And then the last one is include all chat history, which in general generally for most of your cases, you'll probably select that one. And then I'm going to go ahead and add them in, and then they would join this meeting. And you can see that they've been added here. Now, because I've added them as a participant into my meeting, they will have the ability to use this chat in the meeting when I hold it and after the meeting. And when I click on the participants, you'll be able to see them. So this is important. When you go to your Teams meeting for your students, if you don't see a student in your list, then you know that they're not receiving those chat messages, right? So you're going to want to make sure that you've got everybody included in there by adding them all, and then you're all set and ready to go. So if that's as much as you want to see, you can use your regular workflow, add them in using the participants button here, and then all chat is functional. Now, in the next part, if you'd like to watch it, I'm going to show you how to make a meeting in Schoology and Teams and Outlook. We'll talk about all of them, and then I'll show you how you can add them in initially so that you don't have to add them in to this step. You'll still have to add them one way or the other, but the next couple of steps will show you how to maybe make that a little bit more part of your process. All right, let's see what that part looks like. Okay, in this part, I'm going to show you how to set up your meetings from the start so that all of your participants are in there at the beginning of the meeting. So let's go ahead and take a look over at Schoology. So we're going to navigate to our Schoology page. You can still use, let's blow this up. You can still use the link that's down here that says Teams Meeting. You can go ahead and click on that link, make a new meeting here, create a new meeting link. You can go through that whole process, whatever you'd like to call it. We'll call it test. We'll call it test, and we'll click create. You're going to want to still address your meeting options, because in your meeting options, once you've added these participants, now they become live. And that one that I'm talking about specifically, if I click on it, I'll show you, is the part where it says chat enabled. So you can enable your chat so it's in use all of the time. You can, and that one's right here, allow meeting chat. You can enable it so that it's all of the time. You can disable it so it's not on at any of the time, or you can do in meeting. Now, these will work with your participants that you've added. But if you don't add the participants, then you don't get the meeting chat outside of the meeting itself. So that one supersedes these settings here. But once you've got them set up as participants, these still function as they would. So it was important to kind of talk about. So you set up your meeting, you create it, you go into the link of the meeting, and then when you're in your meeting, add your participants just like you did before, right? Like I just showed you. So go back to part 2 if you need to see that. Add your participants before the meeting, right? You can add all of your students, and then that meeting's ready to go. A little bit extra work, but now it gives you a little bit more control. Now, the other spot you can make a meeting is in Teams under the calendar option. So you can see I'm in calendar over here on the side, and I can click on the calendar anywhere, and I can go in to create a meeting. So when I get here, I get the extra option of adding the participants right here from this screen. So if you look really closely there, it'll say add required attendees. That will be where you type in all of your student names. Now remember, both the link in Schoology that takes you to a Teams meeting and this way using the Teams calendar, you have to add the participants like we did in part 2. That's the only, well, minus using this option right here. That's the only way that you can do it. But I'm going to take you through a third method using Outlook that will let you bulk add them by going to PowerSchool and getting the email list, and then you can dump them in. So if you don't want to type all of your student names, you're going to want to watch this next part. All right, let's take a look at that now. Okay, in this part, I'm going to show you how to use Outlook and PowerSchool to speed up this process just a little bit. So let's navigate over to Outlook and start creating our meeting there. So you can see we're in Outlook, so we're going to pick on a spot somewhere in here. I'm going to double click on my calendar. I'm in the web browser one, but this works the same on the desktop. And I'm going to go ahead and I would set up my information here for my meeting, and I can invite them right here. But this is the important part. Instead of just typing in the names right here where it says invite attendees, now I'm going to navigate over to PowerSchool really quickly. So I'm going to go over to PowerSchool, and then when I'm in PowerSchool, I'm going to go to my class, whatever class you're setting up the meeting for, and I'm going to navigate down here to Quick Links. And if I click on it, it will say email class, and that's where we want to go. We want to go get those emails. So I'm going to go ahead and click on email class. We'll let that process for a second. And what we should find is it's going to take us into a screen that's going to show all of the student emails that the district's collected if it has one. If it doesn't have one, you'll have to navigate and get those students' emails individually. But we'll give it a second, and then we'll come right back to this. Okay, it's loaded, and now you can see it's rather small, and I'll blur these out so that you're not seeing all these student emails, but you should be able to see a blur of all of the student names and all of their emails that the district has, and you can see that they're all here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and up here towards the top, I'll blow it up just a little bit, it'll say student email, and there's a little box to check. So we're going to check that box, and I'm going to say, hey, grab all these student emails. I put a check in all of them, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and at the bottom it says build email list. And we're going to go ahead and use the existing option because that works for what we're going to do. So I'm going to click build list, and then you're going to see a blue blob of all of the emails that were in that class for all of those students pop down at the bottom, and it's blue because it's already pre-selected. So all I have to do is copy it. I'm going to have to use the keyboard command Control-C or right-click on it and choose copy. So I'm going to click Control-C. Now that I have all of those emails stored, I'm going to go back to my Outlook in my calendar, and I'm going to click on invite attendees, and I'm going to Control-V it. And what should happen is that all of those names will pop in and be populated and recognized. So now when I create my meeting right here, okay, quick note for elementary teachers. While I showed this process using Outlook to put your emails in as a dump from PowerSchool, that doesn't work with elementary. You guys don't have emails for your students. So can you do the same thing? Sort of. What you'll need to do this, instead of a list of emails, is you'll need a list of student names. So wherever you get that list of student names, however it looks, you can take that list, copy it, and then paste that into the attendees for the meeting in Outlook, and it'll still populate. Let me show you real quick. So I'm going to navigate down here to the bottom of my screen. I typed up a few names, common names that we use, other ITC geeks. I'm going to go ahead and select them and copy them. From there, wherever your list is, you're going to go over to your meeting that you're creating, and where it says invite attendees, I'm going to go ahead and click in there, and I'm going to Control-V, just like we did for the emails, and there you go. You see that all of those names that I had in the list are populated. So it's the global address, so it works with email and the names, right? First and last names. But you have to have that list. I don't know where that comes from necessarily, but if you have that list, either if you can populate it somehow from PowerSchool, I haven't done that yet, or if you have a class list somehow that's shared out from the admin in your building, you should be able to do the same thing. Okay, we're going to jump back into the video now. And there's one other option in Outlook. If you haven't done this before, make sure that you click Teams Meetings. You can see this little option right here is already blue for me, but make sure it's blue, otherwise it's not a Teams meeting. And then when I send this out, they'll actually all get an invite in their Outlook calendar as well as you will. And that one will always exist on that date too. So if you've always wanted to have your meeting show in your calendar, this is how you do it. So that'll be set up. Now it says it's on that particular day. If I were to set this up and show you, and there'll be well, maybe we'll do that. So we'll just put meeting, class meeting, so you can see it. And we'll leave those dates and times, and we'll go ahead and click send. So we'll go ahead and click send, and you'll see that class meeting there. And it's set up on October 20th for this demo, but this meeting, like all Teams meetings, will be live forever. So if you just remember to go back to October 20th, then you can always see it on your calendar. If you want it every day, you can make it repeating if you'd like to. I'm not going to go through that here, but if you want to see it on your calendar every day, you're more than welcome to. But really, one meeting is generally good enough. And then you can share this link just like we've done before. Remember that you can copy this link right here and paste that into your Schoology or whatever you're using to communicate the link to your kids. All right, so that kind of sets everything up. It shows you how to quickly use PowerSchool to grab those emails. Again, you can do that for each and every class that you have. This is probably the quickest way to do this. A little new, but at least the most efficient way to do it. So hopefully in this video, I cleared up why you weren't able to chat. I showed you how to fix your existing meetings, and I showed you how to set up new ones in the existing ways that you did it. And then fourth, maybe a little bit quicker of a way using this process with PowerSchool and Outlook. So maybe you learned something new. Hopefully I fixed an issue. And as always, have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.